That's
Okay,
funny.
right.
All right. Well, thank you for coming to office hours. Yay. So today we're just talking about scaling. I just want to share with you all a couple of things that I have thought about when it comes to scaling. And then also, of course, feel free to ask any questions. We can have a conversation about it. And, let me know what you think. So one of the things that I hear a lot is that everyone wants to grow, right? We don't start a business to have like just a little itty bitty business, right? We're trying to make it big, and it doesn't have to be like gigantic, but I think all of us somehow, some way, at some point in time, decide that we want to grow. We want to get a little bit bigger, earn a little bit more money. And I learned very quickly in law school that working harder is not always the answer. Working smarter is always the right answer, and then figuring out how to work smart. So you can grow your business by doing more and spending more time. But I think a better way to do it is to think strategically about scaling your business. So for me, step one for scaling is thinking about what is that one offer that you want. What is like the one thing either you're going to offer in your business, or what is the one thing that you're going to focus on to scale right now? Because it is, life happens, we get busy. It is hard to have too many priorities at one time, right? And a lot of businesses, I think, that even though they may have little offers under their big one, but if you can focus on one thing, right? If you can focus on t-shirt sales or t-shirt design, right? If I can focus on just business formation and whatever comes along with that, right? You can focus on just doing retreats abroad, or focus on whatever it is, then that becomes your one offer, and it becomes so much easier to talk about what that offer is, and all of your messaging becomes aligned. You're very clear about who your customer is, and you can start to grow. It'll be easier to attract people into that because you're getting more clear on your messaging. There's this thing called, I'm sure you've heard about, like the paradox of choice, right? You give people too many choices. That's like what happens when you're with somebody and you're like, I'm hungry too. What do you want to eat? I don't know, right? And then it just goes on back and forth like that. But if you say, I'm in the mood for Mexican food, Italian food, or, Japanese food, it's like, all right, I think out of that, I want sushi today, right? It's a little bit easier to make a choice when you know that there are fewer options. So again, the first thing is really to choose one thing to focus on and really get that refined so that you can spread the message about that. The next part is this is counterintuitive, but to reduce your involvement in the offer. So a lot of us start out, especially in services, or like service-based businesses, where you are doing all of the work. Like that is me. I am doing all of the work in the beginning, doing all of the work myself, right? But that means that only you are the limit of your capacity, right? You can only work so many hours in a day. You can only balance so many things. So how do we begin to multiply your capacity, or take yourself out of it so you can work on the business and not in the business? So a couple of suggestions that I have for that are creating like a digital product, right? Maybe it could be written like a PDF, but it also could be a course, right? So Talifer, you do event planning and stuff. So maybe you have a digital offer that is, here's your checklist for what you need to do to plan your own event. Or as an event planner, here's a checklist for an event planner to plan an event. Or here's a course or a workshop to do that, right? And Viv, I know that you were in tutoring and also in music. So maybe you have like a digital series of music lessons that people could buy, right? That gets out of the one-on-one. Not to say you can't do one-on-one, but this is a way to be able to grow without having to have that direct one-on-one contact with people all the time, right? Especially in the services industry, start thinking about how can you productize your business, productize your service. How can you make like a block, like a chunk of your service, and be able to sell a chunk of your service? So maybe it's a block of lessons. Maybe it's a consultation on an event. Maybe it's specifically saying planning an event for 50 people is one package, Planning an event for 200 people is the next package. Planning a concert is a third package, right? So your offer is event planning, your offer is tutoring, and then you have these different packages of how you can present that offer. And another thing to do, so in those offers, you can bundle services, right? So maybe this one is digital lessons. The next one is a digital lesson with 5 sessions on one-on-one coaching. The next one is like, I do it all for you, right? You can build up that way. That gives people some options. And then to think about how can we also move out of one-on-one and do one-to-many. So is that a workshop? Is it a class? So it's more than just me doing one-on-one consultations, but it's like a group consultation, right? We could turn this into a group consultation. It's still me, it's still my 1 hour, but now I'm talking to more people instead of having to spend 2 hours, one for one and one for another. So I think those are good ways to think about how can you pull yourself out a little bit so that you're not the one who's doing all of it. And that may mean that you're hiring more people, right? Maybe you're hiring a specific person to do violin lessons and someone else is doing guitar, because that's pulling yourself out and then being able to still provide that service, whatever that looks like for you and your business, right? And then the third prong that I think is really important is to be able to automate. This one is, I think we all know on some level, like, oh yeah, automation, but there's so many tools that are out there to be able to automate our services and our processes. And it is so, so important. For some stuff, I'm pretty automated. For other stuff, I need to get a lot better. Like I just hired a virtual assistant, and I realized that there are things that I just know to do that even in I need to be writing down what I'm doing on a sheet that lives someplace so that I can give it to the virtual assistant and she can give it to her team. So when I'm setting up a new webinar, I know that I need to save the date on the calendar. I need to do the registration page. I need to figure out how to do the payment. I need to do the reminder emails, all of that stuff, right? How much of that stuff can I automate so that maybe somebody has to do it, but it's not me that has to do it. And then there's a checklist so that people know what needs to be done. There's a software called Dubsado that a lot of people like to use, that a lot of consultants use. So some people will put, and it's not a plug for Dubsado, but just as an example, some people will do their contracts through there. And then once the contract is signed, then it automatically pops up with a questionnaire. And then once the questionnaire is signed, then it automatically pops up with the payment link. You can do them in whatever order that you want. And in that system, it creates the contact for the potential client that you're talking to. You can book consultations through there from a calendar. So it's everything that's in one system. So, and you can take notes in there, right? So like me, I got 11 pieces of paper around here that I have my notes on. Now, when I talk to somebody new, I'm going, gosh, Aja, you have this software that you can use. Why don't you just, when the lead comes in, why don't you just take notes right on the software? Because then it would be right there and you can pull it up from anywhere. But there's part of me that's still old school that likes to, handwrite things. But it definitely slows me down, because then I was looking like, what piece of paper did I write that on? When did I say I was going to call it back? And what did I say I was going to do? Because, I'm like, I'm going to remember, and I don't remember anything. So being able to automate, creating those processes and procedures, and being able to pass that off onto somebody else, but making as many things as possible digital so that they come in a workflow. So, someone comes to your page and wants to sign up for a new lesson. Great, get that lesson in there. What instrument, what are your days and your times? How many, can they buy one, or are they buying 10 at a minimum, and bigger packages, all that stuff that you don't have to have either so many conversations, or when you have that conversation, you have enough information that you can already tell someone's going to be a fit and where you're going to put them in, and now you're just confirming.
What is the monthly fee for Dubsado?
I don't know, because I don't use Dubsado. I did look at it before, but it's spelled Dubsado. Dubsado. Yeah. So those are my three, kind of in a nutshell. not super fancy, but I think that that's definitely a place to start, because once we get ourselves automated, then it is so much easier to bring on other people, because you just plug them in to the automation, right? And then once you figure out how to do this one thing, this one offer, and make that automated, then you can replicate that same process for the next one, right? And then you can do it again for the next one.
I was having this discussion. I have a friend client that has a very successful IT business, and he's also a pastor as well. But yeah, he had the IT business before he became a pastor, and he was looking to moving out of state. And I said, well, what's happening with the business? You know, because he's that touch, like he trains people up, you know, and then I said, how do you fight when, you know, because he's not there. So they're going to go out in the service in your name, and they say, oh, he's charging $300 an hour, but I'll charge you $150. And those conversations you don't know about, you have your clauses in place to fight against that. I said, how do you do that? And then how do you know the level of service is going to be maintained? You know, because he's built all these contracts. He has the contracts with the Indian reservations and different entities, which these are kind of hard contracts to get. Right. And how do you maintain that? Because they're used to dealing with only you, and that's always an issue I think we all deal with when, you know, that connect is you, and then you say, you know, please talk to such and such. She's gonna handle you.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think that there are a couple of ways to do that. And I think it also depends on where your strengths are, right? So for me, I love having the conversation. I love meeting people and bringing them in. For me, I would keep that for me, because I want to make sure that the person is a good client. But the back end stuff, right? Like, I could have somebody else set up the templates that I'm going to need to form the business. I could have somebody else do the follow-up call to schedule the next appointment, or have that follow-up already automated so that it goes out in an email 10 days after the client signs up, that kind of a thing. But I do think that you're right in terms of maintaining the quality. So when you do start to bring other people on, and when you do scale, you have to make sure that those sort of checks are in place to make sure you're still getting the result that you want, right? So that's why the system has to be built by you. And then also when you're bringing on people, you want to make sure that you have those qualities so that you can, you know, trust them. But also, you know, for the IT person, IT is IT, right? I mean, there's some skill involved in it, right? But like, you don't have to have a glowing personality to go and like fix the hard drive, right? But you do need to have some kind of personality to be able to get the contracts, right? So duplicating or replicating himself as the fixer is probably better for him than replicating himself as the person who goes out and gets the leads, if that's okay for him. But I do know other businesses that have scaled, it's still that person, but they have a sales team around them so that they can close those deals, right? So that that individual person is not on the phone the whole time. But that training is very important, right? What do you say? What is this client looking for? You know, and I wouldn't just, I think that requires a lot of training for you, so you can trust somebody to do that for you. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
I think I started a little bit in aiming to have the automation. I started using Calendly for students to book their lessons. And so that was really helpful, because over the summer, I was like sending the reminder texts and writing emails. And I was like, this is what am I doing?
Right.
Like, oh my God. And so now they can do that themselves. They can reschedule and cancel all of that. And I just get alerts, and it's just like heaven on earth. It's like great. Like the Zoom link is in the reminder and has follow-ups, everything. So I've been using that for consultation meetings and everything. So that's been great. But I started someone recommended I should try a Facebook sponsor ad for like my services. And so I tried that. I did one. And what I do like about it is it does help you with the leads, because you can have these questions, automated questions, and then you can decide what the responses are going to be based off of those questions because you made the questions. And so it does all of, so like, that's pretty cool. I just know like you have to pay for it. And so I'm like, you know, you want to really make sure, like you were saying, that everything on the back end is already taken care of so you don't miss the lead. Because when, you know how it is on Facebook, when people hit it, like they want to know the response and they want to know how much it is, you know, you can't. And I looked up like 4 hours later, like, oh my God, okay, I got to respond to stuff. Just trying to see like, okay, should I do more ads? And like, I guess my thing is I'm just trying to see how to broaden my audience. Because I have an audience, but it needs to be a little broader so I can get more clients. So
yeah, and being, I think, very specific. So they talk about, you know, niching down and really identifying who your target client is. And that's always scary because we feel like, well, it's going to be too small. But there's a lot of people who are going to meet, you know, fit whatever your niche is. It's just trusting that they're going to come. And also that helps you to be able to deliver a better service. So if you really love working with adults, you know, only who are age 18 to 32 because they're still open for learning, then, you know, say that, like, I'm going to give music lessons to adults. This is you. If you've always wanted to learn an instrument, but you've never had the time or been a little bit afraid how, you know, that would speak to someone like, I guess I'm older than 32, but that would speak to someone like me, like, oh yeah, I used to like do a little band in high school and stuff and lost everything. Like, I'd love to pick it up and do that. And then that's the kind of person that you want to work with, right?
Yeah.
If it's children ages 6 to 12, whatever it is, you can really niche down, and you want to do that when you do those Facebook ads too.
Okay.
So, but probably for the Facebook ads, you might be, I don't want to say probably, you might be targeting the parents of those children.
Yeah,
right?
I was targeting parents.
Yeah.
But I may need to do another one that targets adults, you know, because, you know, adults tend to do stuff too. But I do like the idea of digitizing and making like a, you know, doing some video lessons, and then I just sell them as a purchase. I think that's a great idea. I didn't even think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That's the whole thing. Or even doing, you could do a course also. So people
I've been seeing a lot on Facebook.
People, I mean, courses are the hot thing right now, but maybe people are signing up for a 6 weeks course, you know, learn to play the guitar in 6 weeks, right? And then you get more specific about what does learn to play mean, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to be like,
I want to play George Benson. It's like,
right. You're not going to be Carlos Santana in 6 weeks, but you might be able to play, like, I don't know, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star on the guitar in 6 weeks, right? And then especially for something like that, if it's, you could do it live, or you could do it where you have like a new phase of the learning drops each week, right? So they call that dripping your content. So the beginning is like, get familiar. What is, you know, a fret? What are the, you know, how do you tune your guitar? What should you be practice plucking the strings? You know, this is how you should be. I'm like over here demonstrating. You can't even see my hands. my 3 months of guitar lessons, I can't play for anything. But, you know, how do you make sure that you press the right, the chords, the strings the correct way, and what should it sound like? That could be week 1. Week 2 is like, okay, let's put a couple notes together. Whatever, you could drip stuff like that. And that might be really good. Maybe, I don't know if it would be great for children, but especially adults, right?
Yeah.
Kind of a fun thing to do. But yeah, I mean, start thinking about how can you create, as an attorney friend of mine says, intellectual property, right? Like, how can you digitize this stuff, whatever it is, for any business that you have, so that people can be buying it when someone's inspired at 3:30 in the morning, like, you know what, I've always wanted to learn guitar. You know, they can get up and download it, and you've already created the content, so it's work on the front end, but then it can sell, you know, without you having to do a whole lot after that.
Yeah. I like it. Gotta get my life right here.
Right. And Talifer, I mean, you're an awesome event planner. It may even be, and I know you were used to bigger events, but thinking about like, what is something that a consumer might want to buy? Maybe it's like, how do you throw a first birthday party? I don't know, you know, like something that's like, that's kind of a, I won't say, well, this is your choice, right? You can be very specific about, I want people who are I want businesses that are throwing company parties, and that's it, right? Or you could even do like how to throw a fabulous 50th birthday party, or how to do a sweet 16 or something like that, you know, and it's like a checklist. I love not buying checklists, but I love like getting a checklist. Like, tell me how to do this. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Listen,
5.
you telling the truth, because I'm not good at any of that. And I'm always planning something. And so,
Right.
but I'm horrible at like just the whole thing about, because I know you gotta have a theme, right, Tyler? So like a theme, but then like the decor and all of that behind it. I'll be like, just tell me what I need to do so I can just pretend like I know what I'm doing.
When I had planned my 35th birthday, I was like, okay, cool. I got the venue, got the food, got the music. That's all I needed. And I think it was probably like Tia or somebody was like, don't you have decorations? I was like, for why? And I got some drinks and I got a DJ. That's all I need. But last minute, someone was like, Asha, I'm going to go and get you some balloons. I was like, okay, get a 3 and a 5.
There was somebody who even made, because I threw a virtual happy hour party for a friend, and someone had created like these PowerPoint like slides with the games and everything, and it was only like $5. I downloaded that thing, changed a couple names, kept the whole scheme, the color scheme and everything, and then people were like, wow, you did a great job. So even something like that, where it's just like, you know, it's already planned out for people. And if that's, man, shoot, I will buy it. You can email me and tell me when you do it, Tyler, and I will buy it, because I can't. I don't have the time or the mental energy.
Yeah, I've been revamping the business, so the event planning is a sub product, and for me to not be so hands-on, that's what I've been trying to do, is basically provide consultation, you know, like meet with your whole team, and this is the things you need to do, and then we have an option to be on site or not, but we're trying to show you how to do it. But yes, I did checklists for baby showers and different things before in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, and these, of course, are all just suggestions, right? You have to do what feels right and what feels good to you. These are all ideas. So,
I do love planning. I love planning, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, come and play on my life. Someone come and get me.
Please. I already know when I start really making some money, I'm hiring somebody. I can't no more. I need you to plan. Just tell me what it is and I'll do it.
Yeah.
Now.
One of the most helpful things that I did, which I don't know why I didn't keep doing it, but when I had hip surgery in June, and I hired someone to like make food. You know, and I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna be in here hobbling around this kitchen, you know, worried about food. So let me just get it. And then even after I was able to hobble around the kitchen, I was like, let me still order this food and let me do it again and do it again. And then for whatever reason, I stopped. But that's one of those things that I feel like it's so simple in terms of like finding the solution, but it also is like, well, I could cook. I know how to cook. Like I could just get this. You know, we have these, I don't want to say that they're excuses, but I think we feel like we can't do these things to make our lives easier. But when you can afford it, like, do it. You know, you don't have to worry about food. If I don't have to worry about food, this is great. So I got back to Oakland. I was like, yes, I am ordering some food delivery, because yes, I can cook, but no, I don't want to, not right now.
Yes.
So yeah.
What do you? Go ahead, Tyler.
No, I was just saying, I really like how you were talking about, you know, the breakdown of just basically, you know, the idea, perfecting it, then, you know, documenting the processes, and then seeing how you can outsource that. I would like to know, how is the virtual assistant working out for you? In the past, I've used them for different things. Like if I had multiple clients and I would say, okay, I need you to write this up. If I'm doing press releases, can you write this out and I'll edit it or what have you. And what I found them, this is a long time ago, like in the mid 2000s, but what I found them good at is doing my content, like, you know, doing my flyers and stuff like that, you know. But I know that since we're more so in a virtual world, you know, I want to know how is it working out for you?
Yeah, so that depends, I would say, like on who you hire for, what you hire for. Right. Who you hire. So I've had a VA for 2 weeks now, maybe 2 weeks. So it is going well. So what I need help with, because I'm doing these office hours 3 times a month, and the Saturday that I'm not doing them is the LLC course. And then I have other workshops and webinars that are coming up and reminder emails that need to go out. So right now they're really focusing on if they're creating the registration pages, and if not, then if they can't do it, then I do that. But then updating them when they need to be updated, making sure that the dates are correct on the reminder emails that they go out. Sending a reminder to my email list to say, hey, Ask Asha is coming out, join us on Saturday to do that. All those little things that are, they're
necessary, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. But they need to still get done, right? Because I was like, I've got these people on my email list, not that it's huge, but nobody knows what I'm doing because I don't open my mouth. I have this plan, and then like a day before, I'm like, oh yeah, can you guys show up over here? So I just know that for me, I needed help getting that kind of thing out. They're working on a newsletter. But for me, I'm realizing after outsourcing a lot of things that so much like my personality needs to come into that, right?
Yeah.
And I can express better than somebody else can what I'm trying to get across. And then if I need help refining that, then I should hire someone who's a copywriter, or someone who works with words to refine the words, right? So for me, so far, the VA is working out great in terms of doing the back end stuff and then we're building trust. It's only been a couple weeks, but we're building trust. And so, as soon as we get a month or two into it, and I know that I don't have to double check, like, did this get updated? I can just trust it. I think it'll be a great weight off my shoulders. I did also hire a copywriter to help me with a sales page. And, and I was like, man, I studied English, right? I'm an attorney, I use words all the time, but there's something about being able to talk to the audience in the way that they can hear. And so that for me was money that was really well spent. I was like, yeah, this is kind of everything that I had communicated orally, but now it is written down in a way that is easy to understand. And that's their skill, right?
And the copywriters being used to do your marketing stuff,
I have somebody to help with Facebook ads who did the copy for that, but the landing page from me to LLC has changed, and now it has more information, and so the copywriter did that.
Does the VA manage your social media?
No.
Not at all? Okay.
Yeah, different person. I have someone else to help me with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering about like deciding on what you offer that's free and deciding on what to offer that requires payment, because just my personality is like, I would do this for free because it's what I love to do, but then that don't make sense to my bookkeeping. So like what deciding on that, like what, I don't know what process you use, because I know you offer stuff for free and then you also have your payment stuff. So
yeah, so I would say that it depends on what your end goal is, right? And it depends on how you want to get there. So there are a lot of people that say that you need to have a free thing that leads to a low cost thing that leads to a higher cost thing. If that works for you, then that works, right? For me, I don't really have I don't have a low, in the legal world, there isn't really a low cost thing, right? There's like lower cost, and then there's cost, right? So for me, I'm doing these office hours and more of these free things because I'm trying to build my audience. So, so that's the purpose for me of trying to build the audience. I've switched to doing the lead-in webinar. What's so great about an LLC anyway is now free because I'm trying to get people into the LLC course. And so I just need to increase the audience, right? So I'm using that webinar to increase the audience. If it's something like my contracts event, like that is the course, that is the workshop, I'm not going to have a freebie for that, because for me, that just doesn't make sense, right? My freebie is going to be the office hours. It's going to be the webinar for the LLC. And that's kind of all right now. That's all I want to do for the freebie. And sometimes I'll do free consultations too, especially if it's someone who comes, on a referral, or someone that's, in my circle, or it depends on how I've connected them. But for people who are cold traffic, like they just find my website, then on my website, it's all the paid consultation links. So I would say it's totally personal, right? It just depends on what you want, right? Maybe if you decide to build out a digital course, maybe the first module of the course is free. And then to get the rest, they got to pay. Right? So they can see, like, how would this work? How are you going to teach? How are they going to be able to learn in this way? And if they want more, then, you know, maybe that's it.
Yeah, and when you were talking about, like, you know, if you're still think about your hourly rate or what you think you will want for an hour, and then you can make it like one to many, because you're like, okay, this is what I will want for an hour. So then it doesn't really matter. For like 40 people sign up, that's great, you know?
Right.
And then, but if 10 people sign up, it's still okay, because you know how much you wanted to get from it.
Yeah, and start looking at, I mean, this is hard for me too, right? Because attorneys we're the billable hours drilled into us from the very beginning. But start thinking about your value. Like instead of dollar per hour, putting a price on the value of what you're giving somebody, right? So this checklist might only have 10 things on it, but they might be 10 really important things, right? It's like a checklist to create an LLC. Again, it might have 10 things on it, but that checklist is pretty important, right? So I'm not charging, you know, per item for the 10 thing, and I'm not charging because it only took me 35 minutes to actually create it. It actually took me a lot longer. It took me, you know, 4 years of undergrad, 3 years of law school, you know, 10 plus years of practice. And now I can boil it down to this. And, you know, for you to be able to see it, what is the value of that checklist? So what is the value, not so much of the hour-long tutoring session, you know, not so much what should you be charging per hour, but what is the value you are giving to the person for being with you? And that's a hard switch, because we're always thinking about, well, per hour, right? But start thinking about it that way.
I feel it's very hard. So like I've participated in the LLC course, and I still refer to that checklist just to make sure that I have, because it's not only talks about the LLC, but it's talks about stuff you should be looking for. CPA, it talks about the quarterly taxes. So it gives you an idea, like how to, you know, a good outline for your business and running it. And so in saying that, how it would be, it's difficult for me to switch on to like, okay, give this, but not all of this, you know, because I have an all or nothing personality. So it's very hard to figure out how to do that, because that checklist is extremely, like, how did you realize that it was so valuable? And then how did you feel okay to give it for free? You know, give it
Yeah. I mean, so another way to look at it is the freebie is telling people what they need, and then the paid service is telling them how they do it. Right? So maybe the checklist is the freebie because it's telling people they need balloons, they need to reserve this, they need, you know, XYZ. But now, how do you go about making contact with the vendor? How do you negotiate a contract? How do you make sure everything arrives at the same? How do you make sure the food stays hot? You know, whatever, right? The how part is the part that you charge for. The what part is what gets people in the door to even know that they need you.
That's the teacher in you. That was excellent.
Okay.
Yes, because I think all of those classes and stuff like that, and I've noticed that's been the model, right? Where they take you through it. My only concern is the length of time. Like, I think I took one and it was like 2.5 hours. I'm just like,
it's too long.
And she was just telling her story for an hour. Ma'am, I appreciate your bio, but like, that was an hour.
Like, I could have read that.
Like, I read, okay? That's what I'm saying. I can read. So like that's like also I'm gonna try to keep that in mind too, to try to keep it where it's, you know, people's time too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of what I tell my students, or one of my students told me that their boss had said this, and I don't know where it came from, but be brief, be bright, and be gone. I don't need to be there for hours upon hours. If I can communicate to you what you need to know in about 15 words, I'm gonna use the 15. I don't need to, it's not like high school and college English where you have a word requirement, you know, or a time requirement. And people's attention spans are short these days. And it's also draining on you. Like, who wants to be, me, I'm a teacher and I don't want to be talking for 2 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to get in, deliver the value, and then have everybody move on. So I would say, again, just following what resonates for you, what is authentic for you, because if you're following a method that just doesn't feel right, it's not ever gonna feel right, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you, maybe there isn't a freebie that you want to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe the freebie is your first, when you buy a pack of 10 classes, your first lesson is free, or, you know, I don't know, right? However that looks for you, but it has to be something that aligns with what you want to do and what you're comfortable with. Otherwise, it's always going to be uncomfortable.
Like that.
Cool. Well, you all know where to find me.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thanks for joining. And everybody who's just listening, join the Zoom call next time so we can have a conversation. Just join the Zoom call.
It's
if the link doesn't work, just copy the link or go to Zoom and enter the numbers. What I'm going to do in the future is make it a hyperlink instead of just pasting the URL there. I will learn.
Thank you, Asha. So is it best to share the Facebook when you advertise it? Because I've been forwarding emails. Excuse me, I got allergies with the smoke. But is it best to just share your Facebook with them? Because I know people that would like to take the course, would like to be a part of this discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. You can either send them to an email, or if they want to look at stuff, then you can put them invite them to the Facebook group.
Okay.
In that way.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. I'm stopping our live stream. Bye, Facebook.